Hey guys, welcome back to Hey Brittany. So I know it's been a while since I did my last kind of like full video on my hair. So I wanted to come on and make a video for you guys and just give you an update. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty, so I took out my extensions back in August of 2024. It was a brutal process. I know that I had taken down my extensions maybe a year before that, and I basically started it at 10-11 p.m. at night, and then I kind of went all the way until the morning with very few breaks. And then I think maybe by like 1 p.m. the next day I had gotten all of my extensions out, and then my plan was to take down the interlocked portion of my hair. Didn't get through that, ended up putting the extensions right back in. This time I committed to just taking the extensions down, and it was still kind of a tough process just because by now, with how long I had the extensions in, which is probably close to a year if not more, it was probably 2 years actually. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had my extensions in for almost 2 years, and then obviously with me taking it down and putting it back in and kind of like lumping everything in together. But the point being is that when you have the extensions in your hair and it's human hair, it's going to mat. And so by the time that I decided, okay, I really want to take my extensions down now, I think my hair is long enough, it had basically been that time frame that I just discussed. And so my extensions were matted, so it was a little bit to kind of unpick as far as getting the extension unraveled so that I could remove the extension. And then also the balance of trying to find out where I added the extensions, because I didn't want to undo too much to where I was going into the interlocked portion, which I want to keep, but I also wanted to make sure I got rid of as much extensions as possible. And I also knew that going into this process that I wanted to keep some extensions in the front, because I knew that my front was going to be shorter than the back. And so that was kind of my focus of going into the process of taking down my extensions. In addition to that, what I did was I redid my nape. So basically my nape has been giving me problems since I installed this set back in 2021, I believe. And the problem that I have with my nape is that it was basically too small. So again, I've been interlocking my hair since 2021, and the nape, what I noticed was that the locks in that area, they were not really getting thicker. It was very thin and they weren't expanding like they should have. And so I knew that the sizing probably wasn't good, but I also struggled with really figuring out what to do as far as, do I want to spend the time taking the locks down, the extensions down, undoing the interlocked portion, and then kind of figuring out how to put in new locks and make sure that they're sized appropriately. And so I had made several attempts to take down my whole head, but never really just an attempt focused on the nape. And so I did make that adjustment I think in August. And what happened was I got all of the extensions out. It took maybe 2 days, 2 or 3 days. And then what I did was I had to figure out the parting of my hair, and I overcompensated and went really big because I was like, okay, they're too small, so let's just go on the bigger side. And I was okay with how the locks were at first, but then the parting started to annoy me because they were angled. And I actually sat in front of my computer monitor, had the camera behind me, and that was kind of not a good positioning because it just threw off my angles. And so I kept that in for maybe about a month or 2 months maybe, because I knew that I wasn't happy with it, but I didn't want to put the effort into fixing it. And so I also know that if something bugs me and I don't fix it, it's going to continue to bug me until I fix it. And so I had to fix the nape. I ended up taking down all of the bigger locks, basically from my ear below, basically. And so it wasn't bad taking the braids out, but it was a little bit annoying. So it's not the fun part of the process. And then with what I took down in the nape originally, there were basically 6 rows of locks. So I think when I redid it and made it bigger, I put in maybe 4 rows. So you can see the size comparison from going from 6 rows to 4 rows. This time what I wanted to do was 5 rows, and that worked out much better. And the reason why I'm saying that it worked out much better is because the locks are still thicker than they were when I just had 6 rows, but they're much smaller compared to when I had 4 rows, so I'm much happier. The parting is still slightly angled. I made sure to do it in my bathroom mirror this time because I knew that I was really particular about making sure that the parts were done right and that they also flowed with the rest of my grid, because it was completely off with the bigger locks that I did, and it bothered me. But again, I was overcompensating for having locks that were too small to begin with, and so I think I'm happy with the nape. I'm not going to make any changes. Fingers crossed, I hope that I do not make any changes, but that has been a huge improvement for the nape area because I do have a lot of itching in that area, and I also have some breakage, I think, from either the sizing of the lock and then also the weight of the extension, so that was something that I wanted to address as well. And so overall, I'm much happier now that I have taken out my extensions and I've also resized and reparted the nape. Now, as far as the extensions go, I do want to backtrack to something. I probably have about 10 to 20% of extensions in my hair, and I can tell in 2 ways. One, the ends are locking faster in some of my locks than others, and I think it's because the extensions are, a little bit of extension is still in some of my locks, and the extension hair locks faster than my natural hair would have, and that's mainly at the end. And then the other thing is that my hair at the end is going to curl up in a coil. The extension hair is not really going to do that, so you can see from some of my locks, especially in the front, you'll see that it's a little bit straighter, and I think where it's straighter, it is extension hair and not completely my hair. But the big difference in the extensions that I have in now versus what I have in before is before it was basically 100% extensions, whereas now it's like 10 to 20%, so the balance is much more in favor of my natural hair versus more extension heavy and less of my hair, that sort of thing. So the balance is much better, and I'm really happy that I have minimal extensions in my hair. I also wanted to call out the fact that I'm really happy that I took out my extensions because I really wanted to have shoulder length hair again. I really wanted a bob even. I don't know if I could pull that off, and I feel like the styles that I was looking at as far as people with bobs, they had straighter hair that wasn't kind of like big and poofy, so I don't know how a bob would look on me with my hair, but I feel like if I wanted to do a bob, I would need to wait until my hair was completely locked so that it was not necessarily straighter, but it just didn't have the poofiness that it has right now with my ends being curly and kind of being poofed out. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I am happy to have shoulder length hair again. However, one thing that is kind of noticeable, and I see this more when I'm looking in the mirror, and you can probably see it now, but the front of my hair is not even on both sides, and I think I have more shorter pieces on this side, and then it's kind of not as dense in this area, and I think it's because some of the locks are shorter whereas they're longer on this side. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the length, with the volume, and I know that my hair is going to obviously grow out, and I don't know if I'll cut it to kind of balance it out, but I know that it's going to grow and it's kind of going to look less noticeable as it gets kind of past my chin, if that makes sense. So for right now, I'm not really going to cut anything or try to fix it. I'm just gonna let it do its thing and grow out, and then we can make decisions from there, because I do want to make sure that I'm not making too many changes, because I have taken down maybe less than 5 locks, and because I'm taking them down I'm braiding them, they're going to be much longer than the rest of my hair. And I did take down one piece, and I was hoping that after a wash or two and me wetting it, that it would kind of gradually shrink up to where the rest of my hair was, but it never did that. So I was super frustrated. I ended up cutting a little bit of it, but if it's my hair, I want to cut it very minimally, because I've spent all this time growing out my hair, so I do want to be mindful of how much I'm cutting, knowing that this is my hair and it's not extensions that I am kind of playing around with, if that makes sense. So the big money question, would I get extensions again? Meaning, would I get predominantly 90 to 100% of extensions in my hair. Yes, I would, but only if I had shorter hair, because I don't think I look really good with short hair, and I don't feel confident with short hair, like meaning like how my hair was before when it was like maybe 6 inches and it was kind of like an afro. My hair right now, it is a little bit longer, but I think one, it's longer because the roots, maybe 4 to 6 inches of my hair is interlocked and the rest is braided. So I feel like that's helping my hair to lay better and kind of to stretch a little bit more. Whereas if I had taken down my extensions and I had an afro right now, like a locked afro, I would not be happy and I would want my extensions back. And so yes, I would do extensions again if my hair was super short, because I don't want to have short hair again, or that short of hair again. A few changes that I would make is that I would probably not do it as long. So when I started my set back in 2021, I had about basically 2 to 3 inches of hair, and I did not want to have short hair locked like that, so I wanted to add extension. If I had that hair now, I would probably just do shoulder length or just past my shoulders, because I think that that is a better balance between my hair and the extra weight that I'm putting into each lock. And then one thing I want to highlight is that now that I have my hair again and I've taken down locks and I've been able to see what my hair feels like, how it behaved, even though I obviously already knew that from the past experiences that I've had with playing around with my hair, it has been some time since I've actually dealt with my hair. And so once I took down the extensions and I had more of my hair to compare and work with, like as far as like the length and volume and all of that stuff, I was more able to see the difference between the extensions and my hair. And it's not that I dislike extensions now, but I feel like it's a little bit more noticeable to where it would bother me, because I do have some extensions in the front and I can obviously feel where the extensions are in some of these locks. Like I think this has extension and it feels very different. It feels tougher or more coarse, or it doesn't feel like my hair, and I can tell the difference in that. And now it bothers me, but when I had my extensions and it was down here and it was super long and super full and all of that stuff, it did not bother me. But now that I can kind of more easily tell the difference, it does bother me. So if you're someone, and I used to wear braids a lot growing up, so having fake hair on my head doesn't bother me, but just in that sense, and knowing that it was supposed to be permanent and it was supposed to mimic my hair and all of that stuff, it probably would bother me a little bit more now. But back then I loved it, loved the length, loved the volume that it gave me and all of that stuff. So if you are someone who's very picky about extensions being in your hair, you probably will not like this process of having extensions kind of like permanently added to your hair. And I'm saying permanently because my intention was to keep the extension and gradually cut off. I just got impatient and just decided to remove all of the extensions, or most of the extension, and kind of start with just my hair. So hopefully that helps you guys. Alrighty, so moving on to reties. So reties are not my favorite thing, mainly because I've been retying my hair since 2021 basically. I moved from New York City to North Carolina, and it's been very difficult to find a loctician who will do my hair. One, it's just hard to get in touch with them. I think it's me, obviously, because of my hair loss and how I prefer to communicate. It makes that process even harder when there's even fewer locticians I feel here than there were in New York City. And so it's been difficult finding a loctician in general. Then also it's been difficult because I needed to find someone who was comfortable with, who knew how to do sister locks, but was also comfortable with doing locks that had extension. And I did find somebody who was about 30 minutes away. And right now we only have one car, and so I don't feel comfortable with taking the one car to go 30 minutes away and then spend about 4 to 6 hours getting my hair retightened, however long it will take. It will probably take closer to 4 or maybe even 3, whatever. So I don't feel comfortable driving and leaving my family without a car. And then the other thing that was bothering me about that process is I also didn't want to take an Uber to do all of that. It's just very different in New York City. In New York City, everyone takes an Uber. Down here where I am, you really don't see Ubers that much. Or I don't even know what cars and Uber and all of that stuff. And so it's just a different lifestyle down here. And so obviously I would just prefer to be in my own car going wherever I need to. And so long story short, it's been super difficult to find a loctician. So I've been doing my hair on my own, and I've really been trying to split it up into different days, because if I try to do it all in basically 16 hours straight or whatever, I'm gonna have huge pains the next day and for probably for like a week, because it's very intensive when you're doing your own reties. And I think 2 reties ago, I actually, I'm pretty sure it's from my retie, because I did my retie basically pretty quickly, and in maybe like 2 or 3 days or something like that. So it was very intensive, and my whole shoulder was extremely sore. I could barely lift it up, and I could barely like move around in bed. And I called out of work, stayed in bed all day because it was that painful. And then I had like a neck pillow around my neck, and then I had a pillow propping me up, just really helping me to feel supported and limiting my movements because it was super painful. And so, and this is not even the shoulder that I do most of my work with. Obviously, it does like help me like hold locks and like point and all of that stuff, but my right hand is what is, in my opinion, doing most of the work. So I expected that to happen on my right shoulder, but it happened on my left shoulder. So that was super frustrating. So I know that I need to be patient with my reties, and I really need to space it out and make sure that I'm not overwhelming myself. And so just going back to those injuries that I've had with my shoulders, because in the past when I was still living in New York City, I would constantly take my hair down, put it back in, and all of that stuff. And so that really impacted my shoulder. I think I had a shoulder injury from when I was playing basketball anyway, but just all of that movement with doing my hair constantly aggravated my shoulders. And so that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I would never do somebody else's hair full time. Like I do my mom's hair and that's fine. And I give her a hard time about doing that because it's once I get into the groove of it, it's fun, but just I have a lot of anxiety, and I also procrastinate a lot. And so it's just a mental block of me kind of wanting to do it. And then once I get into the flow, it's easier. But I don't think that I would be good at doing somebody else's hair like full time as a job or even as a side hobby, because I feel like there's just so much going into it. And obviously, when you're doing somebody else's hair, this is your range of motion, but my range of motion is doing all of this and all of that. And so it's just really tough on my shoulders. And so I just feel like with my mentality and just kind of like how labor intensive it is, I would not be good at doing somebody else's hair. That could change. Maybe in the future I might like doing it and figure out how to get past that. But as of right now, I would never do anyone else's hair. So I do want to call out one thing that has made my reties or my recent reties a little bit easier, and I think it's the plastic yarn needle that I've been using. So I know that a few girls on Instagram have been using different tools for the retightening, and I was always using the Nappy Lock tool, and it's a very small, tiny tool, very little to grip or anything like that. And so I was comfortable using that. I made it work, but it's not a tool that I prefer to use when I'm doing my mom's hair. When I'm doing my mom's hair, I use a latch hook, and it's so much easier than using the nappy lock tool. It'll just go so much faster. And even if I used a plastic yarn needle for her hair, I feel like it would still go a little bit slower than it would with me using the latch hook. And so for myself, I really wanted to figure out a different tool that I could use to kind of make the retie process more comfortable. And so I have been using plastic yarn needles. I got them first, I got them from, I think, Hobby Lobby and then Michael's. And then I also ordered some from Amazon. And what I'm noticing is that I obviously need different size plastic yarn needles because my locks are different sizes. And the one that I like using right now, the eye of the needle is a little bit too big, but the thickness is just right, the length of it is just right. Obviously, you know, but when you get the plastic yarn needles, it might be super long, and you can just cut it down and file it so that it doesn't grip anything weird or cause any breakage. But I really like using a plastic yarn needle now. I'm still looking to find something that has a smaller eye, but isn't too small to where I'm basically damaging my locks trying to get it through the eye. And so I did order like a little a kit, and those aren't perfect, but they give me some options. So I am gonna try to experiment with that and see what else I can find. But right now, a plastic yarn needle has been working really well for me. So moving on, so hair breakage. So I made a short little video and I was basically pointing out all of the breakage on my hair, and I have no idea what it's coming from. I don't know if it was coming from the sizing of my locks, the additional weight from the extensions, or something else that was happening, because when I actually started that set back in this set back in 2021, I used conditioner that I feel like gave me an allergic reaction. I was missing hair in some places, so I don't know if this is hair that was kind of growing in late after that process and was never really established in a lock, or if this is hair that is breaking off. So I really still don't even know what was causing it, but I knew that I wanted to fix it, and basically what I was doing to fix it was I was basically kind of like twisting it into a lock, and then I was interlocking it, kind of hoping that it would stay in, but it would never stay in the lock. It would always just slip right back out. And the hair was pretty long. It was probably about 4 to 5 inches of hair, and it would just always slip out no matter how many times I try to incorporate it into my reties. And so what I decided to do was get a really tiny, tiny, tiny latch hook so that I could be able to get it through the actual body of my lock and also pull those loose hairs through. And that has worked out super well. So I feel like I have less flyaways or loose hair throughout my head, and so I may need to do touch-ups to make sure that that hair is really embedded into the lock that I added it to. But I'm really happy with that process because it was something that has been bugging me for a really long time. So I had it here throughout my middle part. I also had it back here in this section on this side, and then maybe in a few other places, kind of like in one-off areas. But it was something that was really bothering me because I did not know why it was happening. I think I found the solution to it, and I'll just keep you guys updated on how that turned out. I only did that with my most recent retie, so it's probably been about maybe 4 weeks since my last retie, but I don't know how this is going to hold up 2 or 3 reties from now. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. Next, what I want to talk about is my scalp issues. So I do have a short up on YouTube. It's basically me just scratching my head, and I have a lot of scalp fall and a lot of dandruff and a lot of flakes and all of that stuff. And that's pretty much how my scalp looks all of the time prior to me using the clinical version of Head and Shoulders. And so I've been using Head and Shoulders probably almost 6 months, if not longer by now. And what I'm doing is I'm basically diluting the shampoo like normal. With me washing locks, I always dilute my shampoo, and then I let it sit, get a shower cap, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I rinse it out. And that has been helping a lot. I don't notice a lot of the itching that I was noticing before because it would get really bad to where I had to take Benadryls, or I had to take Claritin so that I would not keep scratching, because once I started scratching, it just never ended the itch, and I had to keep scratching. It was really bad. So that for the most part has gone away, but I've also have been working out less or doing activities that don't cause me to sweat as much. So I don't know which is playing the bigger role, but I like to think that the shampoo is making a huge difference. What I have noticed is that when I get from under the dryer and I'm taking down my braids, I do have a lot of scalp fall, and it's just like tiny little specks that you can see, but it's not like huge flakes of what it was before. And so I don't know if that's product that's still in my hair or if that's still part of me having a dry scalp. I'm not really sure. I have not seen a dermatologist yet to address any of these issues. I really kind of wanted to go the DIY route of like trying shampoo from the store and seeing how that fixes everything. But my scalp has been doing much better. In particular, this area used to be the problem area. So if that area got itchy and I started scratching, it just set off a whole chain reaction. So luckily, I have not been dealing with that. So I am going to continue to use Head and Shoulders. I don't know if there is a point where I'll ever be able to stop using it. I kind of didn't want to stop using it and kind of have to start this whole process over again, because if I did stop using it, I would go back to using Schwab's Daily Clarifying Shampoo, which is what I was using before, and that was that really wasn't addressing any of my issues. So I don't know what it would be like if I were to go back to that. And so I'm very happy that my scalp has been doing much better. But I do feel like even maybe I try to wash my hair on the weekends, so like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on what my schedule is. Because I work on Saturdays, so Saturdays used to be my wash day, and so I kind of had to find another day. And I don't know if my scalp has been as bad as it was in that video, but it can get a little bit flaky, but maybe just not as much. So hopefully that helps. Alrighty, so the last thing I want to cover is my goals going forward. So I am super bummed by the fact that I've started my hair over so many times because by now I have mid-back hair, mid-back length hair, but now I'm just at shoulder length, and so my goal is to get to mid-back length or waist length even, and obviously that requires me to keep one set in to not cut my hair, so that is my goal. I'm really going to try to keep my hands out of my hair. I'm not gonna make any drastic cuts to my hair, and I'm also not gonna try and take down this set. I really like this set as far as the sizing and the parting because in my first set from like 2018 or whatever, I started the nape out really small and I was like, oh, this is too small. And I got bigger. And so I felt like my locks, especially in the front, were a little bit bigger than I would have wanted. They weren't evenly sized. I know that you're supposed to have 3 different sizes, but my sizes were just off. And so I'm much happier with this set. I feel like it fits my face a little bit better. Obviously, right now, it's kind of unbalanced with the issues I was talking about earlier, but I'm much happier with the size of my locks in this set. So I don't see any reason really for me to take down this set and start over unless I'm just being really super picky about something. But as of right now, I can't think of anything to be super picky about. So my goal is to keep this set in forever, basically, and then also to grow my hair to mid back length and also maybe even waist length. And so I am really excited about those opportunities to grow my hair and see how my hair changes over time. And right now, I think when I started my hair in 2021, I had about maybe 410 locks. I have no idea what I have now with me resizing the nape. I probably removed what, maybe 5 to 10 locks on each side. So that could put me just under 400. I'm not really sure. But again, I'm very happy with this set. So before we go, I'm just gonna do a quick 360 so that you guys can see my hair. Alrighty, so that's the 360 of my hair. Hopefully everything looks good. But yeah, I really just wanted to come on and do this video and give you guys an update. And I know some of you guys have been waiting for it, and thank you so much for just following my channel and keeping up with my hair and asking questions. I really appreciate it. And I hope that my videos have been super helpful. I know that people are in different stages of the lock journey of their hair journey, and I wasn't really sure of the impact that I wanted to have as far as my videos, but I knew that I wanted to be helpful to other people who were dealing with the same things that I have been dealing with. And so yeah, I just wanted to come on and give you guys an update, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.